All right, then, I will call to order the City of Milton Common Council meeting at 6 p.m. this Tuesday, May 20th. Can I get confirmation of appropriate meeting notice?
Meeting notice was posted at Milton City Hall, Main Street Market Piggly Wiggly, and Hometown Ace Hardware.
Thank you. Can I get approval of the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, that motion carries. Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approval of the consent agenda. Oh, excuse me, sorry. Number 4, public comments regarding items which can be affected by council action.
And there is no one who is signed in.
But Chief Pickering, if you'd like to jump in here, you're welcome to.
I always generally respect the courtesy. Thank you. Board obviously has a copy of the report for April. So got to think back a couple of weeks ago. Activity level continues to stay kind of where we've been at. We're at 19% year over year. In terms of actual activity, the city of Milton, 56 911 calls for the month of April, puts you at about 30.6% of the overall district. Last year we're 30.5. So basically the takeaway is it's pretty average, right, in terms of, the number of calls in Milton compared to, what we're wrestling with across the entire district. The one thing I highlighted over on the right-hand side, we did have one day during the month of April with 17 911 calls in a single day. So in terms of fire prevention, we're doing really well there. Inspections are right on task. Staffing, we're at full staff at this point. We do have a waiting list of candidates, which is a good thing because we do expect we'll probably lose a couple to some larger departments in the area that are doing recruitments, and that's just kind of a normal kind of a thing that we have to be prepared for, and we are. So if we do lose any staff, we'll be able to backfill them with candidates that we have available to us. Financially, on the back page at the top, it's always good when the bottom line number is green. We are doing better at billing recovery. From where over the last couple of years it's been a struggle with the insurance industry, but we are doing a little bit better. So obviously that number is trending up. And then the expenses, just because we're 19% ahead of where we were last year for fuel and those kinds of things. But the good news is expenses are not trending as far ahead as the revenue. So projection for the end of the year is still green, and that's good. The interesting thing you might notice for those of you that have kind of watched this over the last couple of years, we normally run over $1 million in outstanding receivables from Medicare, Medicaid, and insurance. That, for the first time that I have ever seen, is now below $1 million. And that's good, right? That we're starting to make some progress with the insurance companies in terms of trying to get recovery, so we keep the burden off the back of the taxpayers, right? Because literally for every dollar that Medicare, Medicaid, or the insurance companies don't pay us, our costs don't go down, right? So that burden falls back on the taxpayers. So that's a good thing when we see those coming down. Several significant events in the region. You can kind of look at the list. We did have a couple of really serious car crashes out in the county parts or the township parts of our territory. One of them did involve a fatality. The one, obviously, that's probably the most interest to you is the city of Milton. We did have a residential structure fire on Ansley in the city of Milton that did involve the passing of the resident that was in the building. We are still waiting for the coroner's report and the state fire marshal's report. So my comments are basically preliminary based on what we believe is probably the way this is going to go. That was the couching statement. But there were no working smoke detectors in the home. It does appear, it is absolutely accidental. They don't, yeah, we're good on that one, right, Brandon? It does appear that it was probably smoking related. And what our prayers are, smoke is an anesthetizing agent to your body. So smoke that develops in the house while you're sleeping or whatever is going to put you to sleep. AKA why smoke alarms are so important, to get your attention and wake you up. So our prayers are that the individual passed from smoke inhalation quietly before there was any impact from the fire itself. And that appears to be what did transpire. And the other part of it, it does appear that that fire smoldered for upwards of 8 to 10 hours before it was actually found. The house was very tightly sealed, weatherized, all those kinds of things. And it was a newspaper delivery person in the morning that happened to notice as they went by a little flicker inside the windows. So that kind of answers a lot of questions about, how that whole thing sort of transpired. Super cooperation from the police department, as you'd expect. And we had the county involved, obviously, and because of the fatality, the state fire marshal, just to make sure that we didn't miss something in our investigation. Is that comfortable with all that? They're never good when they happen, right? But try to deal with them as best we can. A lot of things going on at the state level. There are some bills that are going through the legislature that have the possibility to help EMS in the state of Wisconsin. And myself and quite a few of the people around the state have been in front of the legislature testifying. I've actually had the opportunity to talk directly with the author of the bill about, and Paul kind of smile, there are some gotchas in state statute that even though the bill looks really good, but then there's another part of the statute that almost negates it and makes it worthless. And so I've had some really good conversations with the author of the bill about what to do to make sure that those gotchas don't overpower what they're actually trying to do to help. And I'm reasonably optimistic that maybe we get somewhere. So that's good. And I'll drop way down to the bottom. You are all very welcome, everybody, very welcome. This Thursday night, as part of our district board meeting, we have the high school cadet program, which we've integrated now. It's in the Milton High School as well as the Edgerton High School. And then we actually have kids who use the open enrollment process from some other municipalities around us because we offer this. It's not a graduation because they don't graduate from us, right? They graduate from high school, but we have 9 individuals, 5 of which are from the Milton region, and their families will be there at 5:30 this Thursday night, and we're going to do a recognition for these kids. They have young adults. They have all passed their Firefighter 1 state certification, which is a really cool big deal. Very, very proud of them. Very proud of our staff that helped them get there. So it's just kind of a recognition for them and their families. And there's, as we're famous for, there's cake and ice cream. So, so you're more than welcome. We'd love to have anybody that would like to come and see. These are kids that have worked really, really hard at what they've done. So, with that, I've probably already taken more than I should. So, any questions or anything?
I just have a quick question. In reference to that legislation, do you have the Assembly bill or the Senate bill number for those?
Yeah, so it's Senate Bill 181, 182, and 183, and then Assembly Bill 197, 198, and 199.
Do you know?
I'm
Do you
pretty
remember
sure I
all?
got those right. Otherwise,
look 'em up.
flip the SB and the AB
AB, yeah, I
around.
got you.
They are all oriented at EMS. They all do different things to try to help us in different ways. and I just appreciate the fact that the legislature has come to realize they got a problem and they've got to help us.
Who's the author?
Jointly, Representative Kurtz out of Richland Center, a very rural part of the state, and Senator Mark Line out of southwestern Wisconsin. Again, very rural oriented and, know the challenges. Mark Line, I believe, is on the Appropriations Committee, which is very helpful, right? Because you got the right guy writing the legislation and bringing it forward.
Thank you.
You bet. Anything else? Thank you very much
Thank
for
you,
the
Chief.
courtesy. Everybody enjoy the upcoming Memorial Day holiday, and I sincerely hope I don't see any of you. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, agenda item number 5, approval of the consent agenda.
So moved.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. There's a little delay. Number 6, discussion and possible action regarding a commercial facade grant application for Stacy's Bev Mart, located 136 Merchant Row.
Stacy's Beverage Mart applied for a facade grant for 136 Merchant Row. They're proposing replacing the awning on the upper 3 windows and the storefront. Total project proposal is $6,652.83. The request from the program is $3,326.42. Of that $3,396.42, expense would be incurred by TID number 7. City administration makes no recommendation on this application. The CDA did review this yesterday and forwarded a recommendation to not approve this application. The reasons behind that is the program had already spent back in November to replace this exact same awning through a different owner.
Was there any other reason did Stacy's not meet any other part of the requirement for this at all?
There were several parts that did meet. The CDA felt that it was not a blighted property or was not improving the property since the current awning. They felt that essentially they're just adding the name to it. They felt that was advertising instead of improving the property.
Yeah, on the CDA yesterday, we did have a lively discussion about this, and basically the exact same things are going to be replaced as we did in November, and it just is adding the name, and that is why we decided to decline it.
Was that one of the points, correct me if I'm wrong, if it was one of the points of having the facade grant wasn't just to help with blighted or anything like that, but also to help our small businesses when they're trying to advertise their business as well and improve their storefronts so that they can improve their visibility to the community?
Yes, improve, but no, not market or advertise.
Explain the difference.
Improve was the way the CDA rules, and I'm new to the CDA, so Derek and I are both new, so we can take this back. But it's very clear on that it's any kind of torn materials, any kind of walking by and you see any kind of issues with that stand out from the building that would detract any kind of customers or residents or blighted, like Paul had said. This literally is it's brand new. And it only the only difference was we're gonna tear it all down and replace it, and it literally is just changing the name. So, and that could be just a marketing or a name change. It's not to help drive business just because of the new ownership name, where we could use these funds in a different area and apply it to anything rough, torn, blighted more.
Is there any markings on this awning at all? Like they want to put their Stacy's on there, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah. Right.
Is there any other from the previous business indicating the name of it? It's just a blank awning.
It's actually the previous business put the new awning up with a blank slate, I believe, to sell the property. And so now they took their name off of it, put a blank one up, which the TID number 7 paid for half of it, and now new owners got it and wants to tear it down again and put a new one up with their name.
Anything else or a motion? Or
So I would make a motion to go with the CDA's decision and decline the commercial facade grant application for Stacy's Beverage Mart located on 136 Merchant Road.
is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Ken's opposed. Motion carries. Number 7, discussion and possible action regarding the special event permit application received from the Milton Optimist Club for the Independence Day Run. This is an event that we've had in Milton for years and years, that Kristen Kessler puts together. Does anybody have any questions on this? Anything jump out at you, Chief, on this one?
Nothing, everything's the same as last year.
Okay.
All was well last year too.
You gonna put a group together, the police officers in town to run it, huh?
I will be staffing an intersection to make sure nobody gets hit. Maybe jogging in place.
Okay. Any questions or anyone want to make a motion?
I make a motion to approve the special event permit application for the Milton Optimist Club for the Independence Day Run.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion carries. Number 8, discussion and possible action regarding a certified survey map for the city of Milton and Cross Ridge Park.
The YMCA is interested in acquiring approximately 10 acres of land to the east of the Parker YMCA. On this land, the YMCA is planning on installing football fields and soccer fields. The YMCA is partnering with Milton Youth Football to provide them a place to practice and play. The development of this area of Cross Ridge Park for field space was indicated in the Cross Ridge Park plan. The CSM would allow the city to make the transfer of land to the YMCA. There's no fiscal impact to the city for the creation of the CSM. The administration recommends approval of the proposed CSM. This was again reviewed by the Planning Commission just earlier today, and they recommended approval as well.
Any questions or comments? Motion?
I would move to approve the certified survey map for the city of Milton at Cross Ridge Park.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Discussion and possible action on an ownership and use agreement with the YMCA of Northern Rock County for approximately 10 acres in Cross Ridge Park.
Speaking on the CSM the city's created, the YMCA is interested in acquiring that parcel. With this agreement, the YMCA would be able to install football fields and soccer fields. The fields would be built and maintained by the YMCA. These fields would be rentable by the public to reserve the fields and open to the public when not in use by the YMCA. The development of this area in Cross Ridge Park for field space was indicated on the Cross Ridge Park plan. Parks and Recreation Commission has reviewed the request and have provided a favorable recommendation to the council to move forward. There is no fiscal impact with this land transfer. City administration recommends approval of the ownership and use agreement with the YMCA of Northern Rock County. Larry Barton, board member with the YMCA, is here if you have any questions for him.
One thing that was important to me within the agreement that I read was that the city gets first right refusal if a situation that YMCA closed down, sold, or anything like that, as well as at no cost, at the same parallel of giving the land to them for use and development, but also, from my understanding, at no cost of taking them back, no purchase price on our side. So that was important to me reading that agreement.
Thank you. Any other questions or a motion?
I move to approve the ownership and use agreement with the YMCA of Northern Rock County.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Is anyone opposed? Motion carries. He said aye. We heard him. Sorry. Got to count to 3. Okay, so agenda item number 10, discussion and possible action regarding the council alderperson vacancy.
Thank you, everyone.
It's just getting fun. It's just going to get fun.
Good for us. Thank you very much. I mean it. Thank you.
So there's a policy in place to fill open seats on the Common Council, which we are doing tonight being the first meeting. So I'll read number 4. I'm not going to read the entire policy. I'm sure that you all have, but at the first meeting, interviews will be conducted in open session by the Common Council, which will begin a 2-meeting process to fill a council vacancy. As with all open sessions, interested news media and public may be present through the entire process. However, no public input will be taken at this time. Each candidate will be given an opportunity to make a presentation to the council, and the council may ask candidates questions. All candidates may be present throughout the process. After the presentations have been concluded, the council may discuss qualifications of the candidates. And the order in which we're going to go from bottom up, starting with Michelle Reed, then Terry Olson, Trent, Nicholas, Brooks, in that order. So, Michelle, you have the floor.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Good evening, everybody. My name is Michelle Reed, and during this presentation, I will go through who I am and my vision for our community. I promise I wouldn't, but before I begin, I just wanted to thank you for my family for showing up for the little time they could. My son had a choir concert tonight, and so they had to leave early. I also promised that I wouldn't point my daughter out, but she's here, Kaylee, to support me today. So thank you for coming. And during my presentation, I just wanted to let you know again that who I am and my vision for our community. I am a mother, a homemaker, a wife, a daughter, full-time worker, not a homemaker, but I'm sorry, a home owner. A full-time worker, a member of the Milton community. What makes me qualified for being on the City of Milton Common Council? Well, first, you need to know a bit about me, Michelle Reed. I am a current resident of Milton, and as an adult, lived here since 2007. But earlier in my life, my connection dates to my early childhood days when I attended kindergarten through the 4th grade. Prior to this, I lived in 10 or so different cities in my lifetime. I have lived in 2 states, mostly which has been in Wisconsin, and I attended 10 different schools. And no, it wasn't because I was in any trouble. I have been married for 16 years, all which have been here in Milton with my wonderful husband, who is an Army veteran, Matthew, which we call Matt. I have 3 children, ages 29, soon to be 14, and a 10-year-old. We have lived in the same home, and I moved here in 2007 with Matt. Ironically enough, my 14 and 10-year-old both attended Milton East, the same elementary school I attended all those years ago. I have worked since I was a junior in high school, and I'm still a full-time working wife mother. I worked from A&W to working in the banking industry for 10 or 16 plus years. And then I did a career shift and went into the medical industry for the last 7 years. Over the years, I have been actively involved in the community. My real activity came after my now 14-year-old started 4K. My oldest daughter did not attend Milton schools, but again, ironically, her father and her both now live in Milton as well. I started with serving on the Milton East Elementary Parent Group for 8 consecutive years, 2 as a secretary and the remainder as treasurer. I also have been active in a local church where I volunteer with youth programs including Awana and Youth Group. In August 2018, I founded one of the first Milton groups on Facebook called Milton Community Group. The reason I started this group was the realization that Milton needed a centralized information hub. There were so many times that I felt I was missing community events, school events, and I didn't know most of the businesses we had here in Milton. I would talk to other Miltonites, and they would be just as surprised by things going on or that they were missing as well. Since its launch, the group has grown up to 6,000 members plus. I believe wholeheartedly that this helped strengthen community ties, raise awareness for local businesses, and encourage civic engagements. Though through this platform, I've connected with many residents and have been invited to serve in other roles, including events such as the 4th of July. What do I see for Milton? I envision Milton as a thriving small town that embraces thoughtful growth while preserving the charm and close-knit spirit that make it feel like a true hallmark town. As we move forward, it's essential that we maintain a strong educational system, one built on a solid foundation that supports our students and prepares them for the future. I believe in listening to the voices of our residents and making sure their concerns and ideas are not only heard but understood. We need to strengthen our communication efforts, making city updates clear and accessible to all, reducing confusion and building trust. Our farming community is a vital part of our identity and self-reliance, and supporting them ensures we remain resilient even in challenging times. With our rich natural resources, strong local businesses, and potential for tourism, Milton has everything it needs to become one of the best small cities in America. I believe in a Milton that works together, supports one another, and never stops growing. Not just in size, but in strength, unity, and vision. This is the Milton I see, and the Milton I will work to help build. I believe I would be a strong fit for the Milton City Council because of my deep passion for the city and its people. Having lived in various places over the years, I've gained a broad perspective on what makes communities thrive and what holds them back. Milton is my home, and I've been actively involved in our schools, churches, and local events, taking time to listen to the concerns and hopes of our residents. I'm committed to being open, honest, and approachable. What you see is what you get. As you may have noticed from my slide, I'm not afraid to show people exactly who I am, big hair and all. I value transparency, integrity, and real connection in leadership. As a fellow resident, I want you what you want. The very best for our city. I am a balanced, thoughtful voice. I will bring, a balanced, thoughtful voice to the council, sharing my perspective honestly, listening with respect, and always keeping the greater good of Milton at heart. In conclusion, I want to sincerely thank you for your time and for allowing me the opportunity to present myself for the honor of possibly serving alongside you on the Milton City Council. I may not have every qualification on paper, but I can promise you this: if given the chance, I will give you more than 100%. I have always believed in this idea. You can always give 100%, but why stop there? Is 100% really all you have to give? Or can you stretch and give more? To me, giving more, it means you care deeply. And when it comes to something you truly love, like the city and its people, you never stop giving, growing, or showing up. Milton deserves leaders who care deeply and serve selflessly, and I'm ready to be one of those leaders. Thank you again for your time and consideration. Any questions?
Thank you. Yeah, I was just gonna say, now, anybody have questions? We wanna,
Tell me a little bit about what inspired you to come forward and apply now.
I think it's time for me to be more active in the city. I've done small things throughout the city, and I've noticed there's changes, and a lot of the people, I've heard their voices, and I want to be able to connect what we as a city of Milton board and what the residents would like and combine them together. And I think with me being working all these years through the community is a great time for me now to bring what I've learned. And also because the reason I actually came too is my children are older. They're able, I'm not so much with them with everything. And so I figured now this is a new adventure for me, a new time to get out there and really help out with the community more.
Thank you.
who's next? Go ahead.
Can you just talk into the microphone a little bit more? I
Oh,
just want to
I'm
make sure
so
it's really
sorry.
captured and we can all hear. So.
There, is that better?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, sorry about that.
And I'll ask the same question of each of you when you come up. The position of alderperson is one of honor, responsibility, and integrity. Since most of you didn't run for the position in the April elections, please explain, and not just to the 5 alderpersons who will be voting at the next meeting of the Common Council, but to all the citizens of Milton, why you feel you are the most qualified to hold the position over the other 4 candidates.
I think one of the reasons is I've really care about this community. I've been here a very long time. I've gotten to know a lot of the business owners, a lot of my neighbors, and I've been around, like I said, to several different cities growing up, and I've seen, like for instance, I lived in Stoughton for a long time, and they grew bigger, they've grown bigger, and I saw the animosity between the growing and what people wanted and what happened to it when it did get bigger. I think I've seen a lot throughout the years that would allow me to bring forth the ideas of what I've seen that's worked and the ideas that I've not seen that hasn't worked. I think that with my personal knowledge of that and knowing a lot of people in the community very well, I think that would really help me to be a perfect candidate for the role up here.
Any other questions? Go ahead.
One other question, and same as Ken, I'll be asking this to all candidates, is how do you envision like a week in the life if you became an altar person? How do you balance work, life, family, extracurriculars? How do you envision that and doing this at the same time?
Good question. That's why I decided to wait for so long, is because if I would have done it sooner, I wouldn't have had the time. I would have been more focused on my children because they were younger and what they were doing and being with them. Now that they're older, I can focus more on outside things. That's why I've started doing a little bit more outside of the stuff from home. And so I don't see any problems with balancing everything. I've been always good with multitasking. And when I have to do something really quickly, I'm good at putting it together. But I don't see any time at this time. I apologize, but that is the reason why I wanted to do it now. And like I said, and that's why I don't feel like it's going to affect anything at this point in time.
What is one thing that the city is not doing well, in your opinion, and what will you do about it?
One of the biggest things I see is the communication with understanding. And what I would like to do is bring what we do here and try and make it understandable for everybody in the community. From, because a lot of older people sometimes don't understand. I know even sometimes, normal people don't understand what's going on. And I would like to break it down so that it's understandable for everybody. I want to get it out there more too. I don't always see that things are, I know they're posted on the sites and stuff, but I think they need to get out there more. And I would like to go ahead and try and get more information out to the public in other ways than what we've been doing.
Okay. All right. I think that's all we have for you. So thank you.
Thank you.
Have fun at the choir concert.
Thank you very much.
All right, Terry Olson. You're up. Same format.
Is it just the side?
Okay, ready, everybody? We're gonna do a joke. Oh, we're ready. Never mind. No, I forgot. Okay. Okay. What do you call a short psychic that escaped from jail? Mhm. Oh, a small, medium, at large.
Good evening. I'm Terry Olson, and I'm honored to introduce myself as an applicant for the vacancy on council. A little bit about me. I'm a native of northeastern Wisconsin. I graduated from UW Green Bay with a Bachelor's of Science in Human Development. After a bit of a detour, I was in nursing school for 3 years and then got into clinicals and decided it wasn't for me. I did know that I wanted to work with children, so I went into human development with a minor in psychology. I went on to UW Oshkosh, where I received a master's degree in education with an emphasis in school counseling. I've been a Milton resident since 2003. And little side note, while I was working on my grad degree, that is about the same time that I got on the Green Bay Packers waiting list. And 25 years later, I received my season tickets, which I've had now for about 3 years. Thank you. As far as my professional life, I have been a school counselor with the School District of Milton for 26 years. I've worked solely at the elementary level and have taken on a number of other responsibilities. I collaborate and as a counselor, I have to be a good listener, and that's part of my job daily. I have never once thought about leaving the Milton School District. I love the community. I think the schools are outstanding, and I feel like I have an amazing job. Although I do work with 4-year-olds to 9-year-olds, so my target audience on a daily basis is very different than this right now. So I hope I'm doing okay. As for my personal life, I have 2 children, Max, who's in the audience tonight, Ashlyn, my boyfriend Steve, and a new little puppy named Sophie, miniature dachshund who thinks she's a Great Dane. She patrols the neighborhood on a daily basis. In addition to my job with the School District of Milton, which, by the way, started out as a 1-year position, 26 years later, here I am still. I also have a side gig. I've worked at Northleaf Winery for many years. I started out doing their outside events in the area, bringing wine and serving it at campgrounds, hospitals, different fundraisers. And then I began working in the tasting room about 5 years ago. It did just change hands, so it is now called the Rubber Duck Winery and Market. Still has amazing wine, so come on by. Part of the reason I took on that job was to support my children as a single mom, but also because, as my dad always said, I'm a social butterfly. So I love getting out and meeting people, interacting, forging new relationships and friendships, and I feel that all of that would serve me well should I be chosen for this position on council. I come from a family that's dedicated to public service. My dad was with the Brown County Sheriff's Department for his entire career. He then retired and became a municipal judge as well as a process server. He was a judge for 15 years until his health began to decline. My brother-in-law served in the military. My nephew just began his law enforcement career last week in Fond du Lac. And I feel that my family's desire to serve the public is what made me want to do this. I have served on a number of committees. I am a member of the City of Milton Ethics Board. I began that on September 22nd and am still on that committee. I'm with the City of Milton Police Commission as well, which I started April 2024 and I'm thoroughly enjoying. And again, with my family's background, that sparked my interest in that, and it's been a great experience so far. It's very interesting. I'm learning a lot. I still have a lot to learn because I'm rather new, but it's been a really good experience and learning opportunity for me. I also was part of the Rock County Behavioral Health Redesign Committee from June 2023 until it was dissolved in August of 2024. With my counseling background, I felt like I could be helpful with that committee, and it was great to network and meet new people and hear all about what was going on in the county. I also am a member of the Milton Education Association Executive Council and have been since 2013. As part of that, I also am on the Education Legislative Committee and the Scholarship Committee. Side note with the Scholarship Committee, it's hard for me to think about the Scholarship Committee and not think of the times a few years ago when I went to present at the scholarship night at the high school. And they had chairs set on risers on the stage in the auditorium. And there were some boys on the back row, and there was no back on the risers. You can probably see where I'm going with this. Some boys that were messing around, and all of a sudden you heard this loudest clinking of chairs. If you've never heard that before, it's a sound you can't forget. And arms and legs in the air, and they fell off the back. But it turned out okay because, being scholarship night, we had the fire department, the police department, we had the National Guard there, which all rushed up to help to be sure they were okay. My priorities, let's get to the good stuff, right? Public safety, as I mentioned before, that's a passion of mine. I want to continue to provide adequate funding for our emergency workers. Being on the police commission, I'm continuing to learn a great deal, as I mentioned earlier, and also learning a lot about just the overall operations, which I think is really interesting. I think we have a great department. I think all of our departments in the city of Milton are outstanding. Our fire department, public works, our library, and I want to be able to maintain that level that we have. I also would like to be sure that we are responsible with our economic development, ensuring that Milton grows thoughtfully. I want to ensure that we maintain that small town feel while continuing to maintain our economic base. I feel that cities not growing are at risk for fading. And I want to see Milton continue to thrive. Another priority is leadership with integrity and respect. I feel it's important to provide sound, accountable leadership to the community. In closing, I'm asking for your support in selecting me as a candidate to fill this position. I think we have a strong council currently, and I would love the opportunity to be part of your team. Thank you. Questions?
Thank you. Should we go in the same order? Questions? Let's do it.
I just have a quick question about, so if Terry does get the council seat, does she have to leave the police commission? Yes, okay, that's what I thought happened too, okay.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to
Yeah.
confirm that. So Max, obviously very involved in the community and, you know, all things city. What inspired you to come forward and apply for this instead of running on a regular term?
I think that I didn't really consider running at the time that we had the election. And then after, when I saw the vacancy, then it was an afterthought. It was like, you know what, this is actually something I'm interested in. I think partly, like Michelle had mentioned, knowing that my kids are kind of Max is very self-sufficient and Ashton's pretty self-sufficient. I feel like it seemed like the right time. Like I said, I didn't really even consider it. I'm not sure why until that vacancy came.
And then a follow-up question. Do you have any concerns about leaving the police commission? I know that you said you love it.
I do love
know
it.
that's
Yeah.
and then also any concerns about paralleling or overseeing or not being Max maybe not being allowed to be on certain things that you're on? Is there any concern there with that, or how would you handle that?
I would be sad to leave the police commission, but I do feel like I would still be involved. I'd be here hearing what's going on at the meetings. twice a month. I think that as far as what Max does, I think we would all be able to hopefully work together and figure out what would be best. Good question.
Go ahead, Ken.
The position of alderperson is one of honor, responsibility, and integrity. Since most of you didn't run for the position in the April elections, please explain not just to the 5 alderpersons who are voting at the next meeting of the Common Council, but to all the citizens of Milton, why you feel you are the most qualified to hold this position over the other 4 candidates.
I feel that I have shown my dedication to this community by being here for 26 years. I've lived here for 22 and began working here while I was commuting from Sun Prairie, and decided that this is where I wanted to grow my roots, you know. And I've seen a lot of changes over those years. I live in the subdivision over where American Awards is. And back when I moved in, that was the highway right there. And I could have really great garage sales because we had so much traffic. And then the bypass came. And so that changed, not just not being able to have the garage sales as easily, but also with working at Northleaf, it hurt our business there as well. It was a tough time. I believe it was the right decision, but it was hard at the time. And I think that just seeing all the changes and seeing these decisions that have been made and how they've paid off, I think having that longevity is, I think, give a big strength in this position. I've seen the changes, and I've been through it.
She kind of just answered my question with time management, so thank you.
Okay, thank you.
What is one thing the city is not doing well, and what would you do about it?
I honestly cannot think of one thing. I think everything that the city, all of you are doing, I've been following since Max has been involved. I've been following meetings and agendas, and I really cannot think of anything. I probably will at some point, but right now I can't. Other than we used to have blue lights on the trees in front of the police department during Christmas, and I think those went away last year. That, I feel that's important. Those blue lights, that's us, you know, supporting our police. That's all I can think of right now. Yep. Okay.
I think they were blue the first year I was here.
Yes. And then they went away.
Okay, well, we'll tweak that.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Trent, you're up next.
All right. Well, first of all, thank you guys for the opportunity to apply for the open city council position. A little bit about myself. I'm a graduate of the University of Wisconsin-Madison, Bachelor of Science in Economics and Environmental Science. I've been working about a little over 10 years in the biotech industry, mostly in financial planning, analytics, and now moving it more into commercial and operations. with my current position being Director of Commercial Operations at Emergent Biosolutions. So a lot of what I do there is budgeting, pricing, negotiations, project management, working with a lot of different groups of people to, help drive decisions. Oh, and I'm sorry, this is double-sided. I don't know why I printed like that, so. Family, as a lot of you, if you guys know me, know family is the most important thing to me. I married my wonderful wife, Steph, in 2014, and we have 3 kids. Henry's 9, Isabel's 6, and Olivia's 4. Doesn't act like she's 4, though. She really runs me around. We moved to Milton in 2015. At the time, my wife, who works as the program manager for the CSP of Rock County, she got a job in Beloit. Janesville, Beloit. I was still working in Madison. We were trying to figure out where to move. The overwhelming majority of people I talked to that lived in, Stoughton or Edgerton, Verona, wherever, they all kind of went back to Milton. And I have a cousin, Nick Shesky, who lives here. He's a special ed teacher at the middle school. And he's like, you will not find a better place to live. I can promise you that. So we looked into it. We looked into, taxes and, at the time, I'm pretty sure we're still up there, but we had the highest rated school district in the state. And then when we drove through it, I think we went to Northleaf on our way in, or out, or both. I don't know. But it was amazing to see just a flood of small businesses compared to, coming from a, bigger city, growing up near Milwaukee, going to college in Madison, where you have a lot of chain shops. You don't have as much, small town glory. And that's what really drew us here. All right. Where did that one go? Oh, okay. So community involvement. In my 10 years here, most of it starting post having kids. I've been very involved in the community, coaching. I'm getting close to 200 different kids that I've coached through soccer, baseball, and basketball. It is really a passion of mine. I love working with the kids. When I was a kid, I grew up, when summer vacation hit, every morning we're heading to the park with cousins and friends to play baseball. And so I love seeing that alive in Milton. There's so many good sports programs run by, great people. And it really gives the kids an opportunity to play all throughout their childhood. And as a lot of communities are moving away from that, it's wonderful to see. Knights of Columbus. I've been involved with the Knights of Columbus for 5 years. If you're not familiar with the organization, we raise money to give to, different charitable organizations within the community. So one of our big ones is the Milton Food Pantry. I know every year we give a big donation to Milton Food Pantry. As part of my work with Knights of Columbus, I already touched on it. I love coaching. So I run the soccer challenge, free kick challenge in the fall. And then I also work with the folks that run the punt, pass, kick, and free throw contest to keep those events alive in our community. And why I think I'm qualified. So right now we have 3 generations of family living here. We have obviously my wife and I and our 3 kids. My wife's grandparents moved to Milton in 2020. We were looking at selling our house right before COVID started, and I told my wife, "Why don't you ask your grandparents if they want to, buy our house?" She goes, "No, I wouldn't do that." Well, about 2 hours later, she got a call from her grandparents after her parents told them that we were looking at selling, and she goes, "We'll buy." Her grandma was like, "We'll buy your house. No questions asked. We'll buy it." And when asked why, they just said, "Every time we come here, it just looks like the most beautiful place, and we want to finish. We want to move up from Texas and spend time with our grandkids and great grandkids." So they've been living just around the corner from us for almost 5 years, and they still have nothing but good things to say about the community, and they're very honest people. So I take what they say. Her parents are also moving here, within the next year. So, one of the reasons I really wanted to, take the step and try to join the city council is, representing 4 generations of family, including, all the people that they talk to, my kids' friends, their parents, my grandparent or my wife's grandparents' friends. So really understanding the needs of all those different groups of people and being able to be a voice for them. I think my work experience, specifically in budgeting and project management, as well as going, however many years I spent, 5, 6 years in just deep dive data and analytics, I think that could help with driving discussions among members of the council. I touched on my coaching. I think that's helped me. We've gained a lot of friends and acquaintances over our time in youth sports and coaching, and you really get to kind of see what drives people, what gets people getting their kids into different programs, what they love about Milton. You also hear the bad things about Milton from some people, but that's to be expected. And most importantly, you'd be getting an honest, open, and trustworthy partner, helping to keep our community the great place it's always been. Short and sweet. Any questions?
Thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, the one I asked everybody else. So what inspired you to apply for the open candidate position now instead of running?
I guess at the time when the elections were going on, I didn't really know what that commitment necessarily meant. And I've talked to a couple members and other people in the community, and I realized that it's probably a perfect time to join with my kids being the age they are. I talked to them about it too. I said, what if I go? I kind of explained them. So you'd be an important person in Milton, says my 6-year-old. I was like, well, I guess so, honey. But she was all about it. So, I got their blessing. I got my wife's blessing. And Derek, I know you'll ask the question about time management. 6 months ago, I would have said, I have no idea. Raising 3 young kids is hard on its own, and we both work full time. And but the plan would be to take a step back from Knights of Columbus, still run my programs. But in general, our sports schedules are usually just, a night a week, maybe once on the weekend. So I do think there's ample time, after a normal work day is over to make sure I can get the business that I need to get handled here.
The position of alderperson is one of honor, responsibility, and integrity. Since most of you didn't run for the position in April elections, please explain not just to the 5 alderpersons who will be voting at the next meeting of the Common Council, but to all the citizens of Milton why you feel you're the most qualified to hold this position over the other 4 candidates.
Just when I interact with people, they know who they're getting. I'm very honest up front. High energy, so sometimes can get have a good time in whatever group I'm in. But no, I think that enough people in this community know me and could speak to what I believe in, my honor, my integrity, and the fact that I'm doing this truly to just have the best life for the 4 different generations of family and friends that I have in this community.
Guess that leaves me. What is one thing the city is not doing well, and what would you do about it?
So I kind of have the same answer. Like, I can't think of anything that is just glaring. Like, we really need to fix this. One common thing I've heard is about property taxes from my wife's grandparents, some members of the Knights of Columbus. They always talk. That's their number one topic, and their concern over their fixed income remaining the same, but property taxes continuing to go up. That's a common concern I've heard. So that would pretty much be it for me on that.
Yeah, Trent, you're all good, Molly. Yeah, just one follow-up question to my subject in hand.
Mm-hmm.
Is I saw that you work for the biotech company, but that's kind of based out DC, if I understand correctly.
Yep.
So it'd just be good to understand, like, do you work remotely? Does it
Yeah.
cause travel?
It does. So last week was a good example. I was in Winnipeg, Canada from Monday through, well, it was supposed to be Thursday, and that was 36 hours delayed. I got home late Friday night. That's more the exception than the norm. I've been traveling more, but it's usually now probably once a quarter for a couple days at a time. And I see that one of the alder persons is on, on that if worse came to worse, and that's how I'd be able to, that's how I'd have to handle it. But, also we're done with, I'm usually done back in my hotel by 4 p.m. So I should always be able to call in if I'm not able to be here, but in the end, I should be here. I don't see any real reason to worry about conflict there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're up, Nicholas.
I don't have any slides to hand out or put on the screen. I'm just going to talk. Good evening. It feels strange a bit to be up here ready to boast about my achievements and put my life on public display, but you guys have a choice to make, and so it deserves full information, so modesty kind of has to take a back seat. You have a choice of 5 different candidates, and I read through all the letters from each one because they were part of the agenda, and honestly, after reading them all, I don't think you have a bad choice in the bunch. They'd all be great choices. They seem like great people. Some have administrative experience that would be very handy and training that would come in handy. However, this position is not necessarily primarily an administrative position. It's a position of representation, and I believe that that is where I might have the best expertise. The most important thing about being a representative for a city is in many ways being somehow one of the average of that city. As the common person is who I would be representing, I should be somewhat common. So how do I fit that bill? Well, on paper, I'm actually very common. I'm 5'9", 175 pounds, average height, average build. I'm 37 years old, which is only a couple years shy of the Wisconsin median age. I married my high school sweetheart and settled down and had 2.5 kids. We say the last one's only counts as 0.5 because she's so darn short. What about education? Well, after graduating from Milton High School, I attended UW-Whitewater and earned a bachelor's degree in a subject that I hardly have used for any of my jobs since, which is pretty average nowadays. Speaking of jobs, how about salary? Well, my salary is only a few percentage points off of the median salary for Rock County. So, on paper, I am the average Joe. You are looking at Mr. Normal. However, anyone who knows my family knows that off paper, we are actually quite certainly not your normal family. First of all, my wife and I are blessed to be able to have her be a stay-at-home mother, which she's done for since 2014. This used to be a bit more normal, not so much anymore. Because of this, we can homeschool our children. All 3 of our kids went through the elementary schools. We love the elementary schools here in town. And now several of them, 2 of them, take a couple of classes per semester at the schools, which they're allowed to do. Mostly classes that I either can't teach myself or would much rather not be taught in my house, like chemistry. I like my kitchen the way that it is. You might think that homeschooling would make us somewhat disconnected from the Milton School District, which is one of the pillars of this community. But in fact, this couldn't be further from the truth. We're known by several of the principals and many of the teachers, not for any bad reasons, I assure you. And we've talked on numerous occasions with Superintendent Dahman. And in fact, we know one of the other candidates, Michelle, from when my wife was also years ago on the parents group of Milton East. That's where we first met Michelle. So, our doing homeschooling with our kids has also made us very familiar with yet another pillar of this community, and that would be the library. I can't count the number of events that my kids have done at the library and my wife have done at the library. And in addition to that, my middle child, Ziva, is part of the BLT, or the Board of Library Tweens. She's on the Tween Advisory Board. And my youngest is planning on joining that when she moves up to the Teen Advisory Board. They're not just known at the library, though. They're also known at the Milton Area Youth Center, where they hang out with other kids all the time. Their friends love hanging out down there. They're known very well. We're known very well down there. And it seems that when they and their friends are not at the youth center, they all have an open invitation to come to my house and eat my snacks. And that's okay with me. My wonderful wife in addition to helping to educate the children, has recently started a bread business, Baketrarch Breads, which she sells at the Community Days events, which she also helps to set up and market, doing a lot of the online marketing. And in fact, she helps in numerous ways around town, whether it be planting and picking at Timber Hill Winery, which she's been a huge fan of since they opened all the way over by the greenhouse, to conscripting me to help pick up garbage at the 4th of July event after that is all done. She doesn't seem to be able to stop herself from filling her calendar with ways of helping this community. And my familial connections don't stop with just my immediate family. My mother has volunteered for many events and activities and is an avid member of the Rock County Genealogical Society. And of course, many of you probably know my sister-in-law, Keaton, who is on the Historic Preservation Commission and is the director of the Milton House, yet another pillar of Milton. But enough about my family. I should talk about myself for a little bit. As I said earlier, I have a bachelor's degree from UW-Whitewater in digital arts and a minor in music. I worked for 13 years at Voight Music Center, and around 2019, I started helping my father with his work. He's been an independent distributor for Pepperidge Farm cookies and crackers since I was basically 1 year old. We're known around the area now as the Goldfish Guys. This work that I do with him naturally gives me connections at the Piggly Wiggly. I knew the old owners, the Cowleys, fairly well. I know the managers, the managerial staff. I've met the new owners as well since they came in. And in fact, we're probably known to Russ from back when it was Russ's IGA back in the day, who of course is now the owner and operator of the meat market on the far side of town, which my kids love walking down and buying meat sticks from. So, lots of connections through that. But those connections pale in comparison to those that I've made in just the last year as I've been working to create this. This is the Milton Event Dispatch. Some of you may have seen this around town. I have them distributing all throughout town. It is a free monthly periodical that I put together that has all of the events that we can find on every single calendar and event page that we can come across. We compile it all and we distribute it for free. And I've designed it myself. I think it's rather stylish if I do say so myself. How is it free? Well, first off, I volunteer my time to actually put it together. I don't get paid yet for this project. But what about the paper and the ink? Well, the paper and the ink is actually provided to me by numerous small local businesses that have been generous enough to sponsor and provide the paper and the ink for us. This is how I've come to know all manner of people around town, such as Beth at the Corner Closet, Amy at Sunny and Olive, Tammy at the Red Rooster. They've all been very helpful and very supportive. I've spoken with other owners, the owners at Second Time Around and Penayenta, and I've even gotten to know Deb at the Milton Area Chamber of Commerce. On the third page of the dispatch, I always put the meetings, the Common Council meeting, the school board meeting, the township board meeting, the Rock County Board of Supervisors meeting, and little blurbs of what's going on, what happened last month with each of those, and when the next meetings are coming up, along with other library board meetings, et cetera, along with volunteer opportunities. I do this every month, right? And this is why I also have connections with some of the other board. Right? I have known John Jennings on the township board. He grew up down the street from me. And we've come to know John Trainer on the township board, along with their clerk, Tiffany, who does an amazing job. We love Tiffany. Those particular meetings are easy for us to go to. As of yet, they're still only 2 blocks down from where we live, but they're working on building a new township hall. So, many of you might know me from talking to you guys about the events that I put in there or the information. I've also spoken on several occasions with Mr. Bill Wilson, who is the representative for the Rock County Board of Supervisors. That one's actually kind of important to me. I feel like the county level governance is kind of forgotten. It just kind of falls through the cracks. A lot of people think about state government, a lot of people think about local government, and everybody just kind of overlooks the county government. So that's kind of an important one for me. We also have friends on the school board. We've been friends with John Doomer and Tracy Hanna since before they were even on the school board. So, and like I said, I've spoken on numerous occasions with the superintendent. I could continue dropping names and boasting about our connections all night long, but I don't want to be too long-winded. What I'm saying is this. My family doesn't merely live in Milton. I've lived in Milton my whole life. But my family doesn't merely live in Milton. We are enmeshed into the fabric of this society, right? This community. There is not a sidewalk that my bicycle hasn't rolled down. There is not a trail that my boots have not wandered around here. There isn't a park that my children haven't played at, and there isn't a body of water that I haven't failed to catch a fish at. I'm a terrible fisherman, but I think I'd make a great representative of Milton. I can represent the average person. I can represent local organizations. I can represent the local small businesses. I can represent our city's connections to the surrounding communities. You have 5 options. None of them are the wrong options, but I hope that I've shown that when it comes to hiring a representative, I very well may be the best of the options. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll start with questions.
Okay, as I've asked everybody else, why now? But then you also went into a lot of other detail, and I can't remember. So, are there any current clubs or activities or boards that you're on currently?
I am not. No, I'm not on any particular board or anything like that. But on that topic, I've already kind of mentally set aside the time to be on serving the city. So if you choose another candidate and you have a vacancy on one of the committees that you'd like to fill, you just point me in that direction.
Okay.
I'll just do that. As for why now, I actually gave that a lot of thought, and I was fascinated to find out that when the last election, there was one person running for mayor. There was 2 people running for 2 seats in the city council. There were only just a few people running for a lot of these seats. It didn't seem like there was much in the way of activity from potential candidates. And then we have 1 seat available and 5 people suddenly going for that seat. And I was kind of wondering why all of a sudden there's so much more, and why did I throw my hat into the ring?
So just to correct you, we had 4 people run for 3 seats.
Yeah,
council.
right. So sorry, I misspoke. The 2 people for 2 seats on the school board. That's the one I was. Yeah. Speaking of, sorry. I feel as though a lot of people kind of view this as kind of the ivory, the ivory tower, the hallowed halls, if you will. But it's just perception. I mean, you guys are all just citizens, not much different from the rest of us. And this actually goes to Molly, what your question was going to be. What could the city do better? And that is kind of bring people in to see, hey, the local government isn't like a bunch of people that are different from you. They're citizens just like you, and you belong here too, right? You belong taking part in what's going on within the Common Council, within the city. So
just
Mhm.
why now for the open seat? Because it sounds like you have really deep roots. Like you have tons of family. You've
Yeah.
been very involved. You
Yeah.
grew up and born and raised here.
Yeah.
But it sounds like maybe you've had things that have stopped you from being involved thus far, or why the open seat?
I think much like I suppose what I was getting at, I kind of got a little off topic. What I was getting at was the process of going through an election can be kind of intimidating, And I think a lot of people here would agree that, you know, when you can just give a presentation as opposed to running a political campaign, that seems a little bit less like a hurdle that one can jump, or you know, a little bit easier to jump. And it's only 1 year, right? And so there's all that. Yeah.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you. Hmm.
All right. The position of alderperson is one of honor, responsibility, and integrity. Since most of you didn't run for the position in April elections, please explain not just to the 5 alderpersons who will be voting at the next meeting of the Common Council, but to all the citizens of Milton why you feel you are the most qualified to hold this position over the other 4 candidates.
Well, as I said, the position is primarily one of representation, and that's where I think I excel. I may not have the administrative chops of some of these other candidates, though I'm very good at, you know, getting the homework done, so to speak. But while many of them have very strong individual distinct connections, I feel as though my connections are incredibly various and spread throughout all across the town, different demographics and different aspects of the community, not just merely one aspect of the community. So I think that I could better represent the community as a whole as opposed to just some particular element within the community.
If elected, how do you envision a typical week in the position, a day in the life, as you balance everything else that you are involved with between the dispatch, the family, and work?
All right. Well, fortunately, one of the aspects of my work is that it doesn't actually take as much time. I don't work as much. Being independent distributors, we have a lot more freedom with how we go about doing things, and so which is great because I can spend more time at home with the kids. But it's also great because I can spend more time doing things like taking part in the Common Council. I feel as though I'd most likely be spending a lot of time reaching out to people and getting information. The first significant portion would be learning how the actual role works. I think everyone's going to have to go through that. But after that point, I love doing my research, and so I'd be doing a lot of reading, and I wouldn't miss an event if I could help it. I wouldn't miss a meeting if I could help it.
I'll give you the opportunity to add on to my question, which
sure.
you previously answered. What is the city not doing well, and what will you do about it?
Yeah, no, I'm not. So I had mentioned earlier that I feel as though there's kind of this disconnect between what everything's actually like within the government of the city and everybody's perception of it. And I don't necessarily think that it's the city doing anything wrong. I think that's just kind of a common cultural thing, you know, in modern day. But I think that we can, as a council, kind of get ourselves out there, kind of welcome people in, do a little outreach to the people, that sort of thing. Other than that, like some of the others have said, I have no major qualms about the functioning of anything going on within the town. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Last but not least, Brooke Skolman.
Can you hear me? We're good? All right. Well, much like the last election, I'm feeling a little bit like the person picked last at recess right now. But I just want to say good evening to the council. Thanks for having us all here to talk about why we would make great candidates for the open seat. And thank you all for the candidates who put in. I really appreciate the fact that you've taken the time to try to represent your community, and that's awesome. But by now, I'm probably a familiar face for most of you, but if you do not know me, my name is Brooke Skolman. I moved here to town with my wife Katie and 2 kids. We got a 5-year-old, Rory, and my son is about to be 3. He is Rocco. And we're fortunate enough that we got to buy one of the old historic houses here in town, which we did not know when we actually moved here. We found that out later. But the question tonight is, why me? I think to answer that simply, I have a lifelong passion for public service across a bunch of different experiences. So I have more than a decade's worth of experience across the nonprofit and public sectors, across all levels of government. So for the last 5 years, I've been lucky to serve the state of Wisconsin through a couple of different roles. Currently, I'm with a small but mighty office called Serve Wisconsin, which helps support and administer all of the federal grants for all of the AmeriCorps programs that the state runs and operates. And in that role, I'm a fiscal officer, so I actually have to find and prevent fraud, waste, and abuse of your federal tax dollars on a daily basis. It's something that I take very seriously. I've been in that role for 2 years, and I love it with all of my heart. And I'll get to why in a little bit, because it's a little bit full circle moment with AmeriCorps with my experience. But before that, I was a budget and policy analyst at the Department of Workforce Development for about a little more than a year, where I got to work on the state budget process, which was really fun. But I had a portfolio of about $35 million in state and federal funds for a wide range of workforce development programs that were implemented all across the state. And then before that, I was a research analyst at the Department of Children and Families, where I did a lot of data analytics and reporting on our child welfare and youth justice systems, really helping to support our county level child protective services and youth justice workers, making sure they had all the information they needed to be effective at their job. But before that, I was a program director at a nonprofit up in the Madison area, where I helped manage some federal funds and some other grants, but we specialized in providing respite care services for families with kids with young kids with developmental challenges and special health care needs. And then I came to that role after having been enrolled at UW for a graduate degree for a number of years. But before that, I actually got my master's degree in public policy and public administration down at Texas A&M University. It was a foundational experience in my life that taught me a lot about what makes government go. How to listen to people and make sure that you're incorporating the needs of the community with whatever decisions that you're having to make. And more importantly, it taught me how to work with people that you don't always get along with. Because that's the hard work of governing, is looking at someone across the aisle and saying, we might not always agree with what's going on, or we might have a different way to getting to a proposed solution, but we have to find a way to work together and make it work for our community. So I learned a lot in that program to really foster the necessary experience to learn how to get the levers of government going and working for the people. But before that graduate degree, I actually was an AmeriCorps member. So it got me, I grew up originally in South Carolina, but took the leap more than a decade ago on a whim and moved out to Austin, Texas with nothing but my possessions in a car and a job offer that was going to pay me about $12,000 a year serving my community out in Austin. So I spent 2 years as an AmeriCorps member, primarily working 1 year with first-generation college students, helping them make sure that they had all the necessary resources they needed to be capable and resourceful on campus. It was a community that was very near and dear to my heart. I'm a first-generation college graduate, having grown up kind of in the middle of nowhere, South Carolina. Education provided me a lot of pathways to even be here in Milton today. And then the year after that, I spent managing a resource center for youth that were in the foster care system in Texas who were about to age out, and we're making sure that they had all the resources they needed to, have stable housing, have stable employment, and making sure that they were self-sufficient citizens. So you add all that up, and what you get is someone who just loves public service. I've always just kind of thrown myself into whatever community I find myself in, because that's what I know how to do best, is to just get involved and listen to people, hear their concerns, and try to come up with solutions that will work for everyone. But let's talk about a little bit about my city experience. So since moving to Milton, I've had the pleasure of being able to represent the community through my time on the city's Plan Commission and the Community Development Authority for the last several years. In particular, my experience on the Plan Commission the last year and a half with the new zoning codes has provided me with a lot of insight into the big challenge I think that is coming our way, is actually getting these things implemented and making sure that they're all being implemented in a smooth way, so that eventually something is going to go wrong and we're going to have to fix it as a council, because we're not just going to implement codes and expect it to run smoothly. So my experience being on the Planning Commission, I think, will help me when that time comes. Outside of that, my work on the Community Development Authority, I've been really lucky to be a part of that one. And one of the things that I've done there is to help kind of transform some of our grant programs. I was a big advocate for our commercial facade grant programs and our residential exterior improvement program for homeowners here in town, where I pushed that we actually up the limits from $5,000 to $10,000, trying to help homeowners and business owners get a little bit more money in their pockets through that grant program and help raise up the value of our properties all across the city, while also expanding the base of people who would actually be eligible for those programs. So I feel like I brought a lot of value already to our community through my service just on the city committees that I'm on. But outside of that, you might know me from my wife's store. She owns and operates Elmside Goods here over on Parkview, and we are happy to say that it's right now is a thriving little business. So we brought some real value to our local business community, especially because we always felt like Milton really needed a bookstore. So we felt like every community needs a bookstore and needs a place where people can come and get information and just be themselves. And that's what our space has been ever since we've opened it. So outside of that, my priorities for the city, I think you guys heard this on the campaign trail, you know what this is going to be. But the biggest thing facing us is our housing options. So we need to ensure that we have a wide range of housing options available to all the people that want to move here. We know that people want to move here, and we want to make sure that we have the stock available for them to do that. And one of the ways that we do that is through our zoning code. We've already set up our zoning code where I think we've set our city up for success to grow, but grow in a smart and thoughtful way, in a way that can get the amount of people here that we need, while also still retaining our small town charm that we all know and love. Two, I think we got to get our zoning correct, for lack of a better term, right? As I've already mentioned, we've already approved these new zoning codes. It's not going to be a smooth process. I hope it's as smooth as possible, but things are going to come up where it's going to come before council for us to make some hard decisions around our zoning codes. And I think I want to be a part of those discussions just because my time on the planning commission, I feel like I have good insight into the issues that will arise. I've read a ton over the last year and a half about zoning reform. One of my self-proclaimed government nerd in my free time, I usually just read public policy books or government books. But outside of the new zoning codes, the next thing I think is making sure that our fire district is going to be where we want it to be. I know that we've had a big time of that over the last few years, moving to the new fire district, but I want to make sure that Milton's interests are still represented in that commission and in that new fire district in a way where our services here in the city remain where they are and even expand and get better. And lastly, my wife's part of the small business community, so I want to be on council to help our small business community thrive. One of the great things I think about Milton is our small business community, and in particular our women-owned businesses. So many of our businesses here in town are women-owned, and I think that is awesome, and I think that is something that the city needs to shout from the rooftops. And I want to be a part of a council that is both supportive and tells people that we're open for business. If you want to start a small business here, bring it on, because we're a great city for it. We have a great population base to help support local businesses, and hopefully that will only continue to grow. So with all that, I know a lot of people, we've talked at you a lot tonight, but I would just say that I've lived in a lot of places in my life. I grew up in a small town, not even a small town in South Carolina. I grew up in the middle of nowhere. The closest town had about 600 people. I've also lived in a big city like Austin, Texas. I've been fortunate. I got to live in places like in Madison and New Orleans and other small communities all throughout this country. So I have a lot of experience, a lot of lived experience in different communities and kind of seeing the ins and outs of what makes communities go. And I've made the most of my experience in my life to try to be a part of those communities and build them up and be a voice for the people in the community to make sure that they are being heard. And that's the same energy that I would bring to the open seat on council. So.
Thank you, Brooks. Go ahead, Charlie.
Yeah. So obviously my question is going to be different.
Sure.
But I do want to ask, in one of your posts on Facebook, you said, as an alderman, I want to grow our investments in public focus spaces such as the library so that our residents receive the resources and services that they can count on. We need civic infrastructure and leaders who will support our public spaces. That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, tell me how you're going to do that. What's the practicalities? What's step one?
Step one, I think, is to look for grant opportunities from, well, maybe not now from the federal government, given the current climate, but there are opportunities out there to get funding into the city that aren't through means of raising taxes, right? I mean, there are avenues we can go through to apply for grant-funded opportunities where we can help grow those types of spaces and help get money to places like the library or getting money to renovate the Milton Community House, which I think is something that you guys have recently approved. I think, yes. But yeah,
On a
so
small
there
scale.
there are avenues for which we can do that. I think most of it is drumming up support, making sure that people are aware of what is out there for us to be able to even try to apply to. But it's being proactive with the community and saying, hey, what kind of spaces do you want to see? I think there's an appetite for that. Most of the places that I've lived, people want to see more spaces like that.
But how
Whether
would
it's
you
like
do that?
green, what?
Sorry, how would you do that?
How would I reach out to people?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Like,
That's a great question.
Boots
So,
on the ground. What would you do?
yeah. So, I mean, much like a campaign, I would probably go door to door and ask people, but I would also, as an alderman, I would try to set up spaces for people to come and talk to me so I can hear their concerns. One of the things that I think, getting at Molly's question, is I think we do a great job of communicating the things that we need to as a city, but we need those spaces built out where individual alders can have alder town halls, where we can actually have our voices heard as a community. I'm fortunate that my wife has a business where I could maybe do that. And set up meetings where I could say, "Hey, I'm going to be at my wife's store for this amount of hours every week. Come talk to me. I have open office hours." That was one of my fun things I did as a graduate TA, is having open office hours and just having people come and listen, or listening to the students come through and talk to me with their concerns and trying to help them. So that's kind of the same process that I would do. I mean, I'm not the most social media savvy person. I don't have any personal social media, but as a alderman, I would reluctantly get on there, but try to grow my base of people, people in the community, so that they can talk to me through those avenues as well. So yeah.
All right, the position of alderperson is one of honor, responsibility, and integrity. Since most of you didn't run for the position in the April elections, please explain not just to the 5 alderpersons who will vote at the next meeting of the Common Council, but to all the citizens of Milton, why you feel you are the most qualified to hold this position over all other 4 candidates.
Well, I will say this. I ran knowing that I probably would not win. I know the 3 that I went up against, and they were all formidable people. But I chose to do it anyway because I felt like it was the right thing to do. Even knowing that the seat was going to be available, I chose to be proactive and be out in the community and talking to people all throughout Milton to hear their concerns, hear what was driving them, hear what their fears were, hear what their visions were for the city. I did not do as good of a job as the 3 of you, apparently, but I am proud that I haven't lived here that long. I will admit that I'm probably the newest person here. I've been here for 3 years. But within 3 years, I got 998 people to vote for me. And I think that's probably a testament to my ability to, on a very tight schedule, get out to talk to people, drum up some support, and have them hear what my vision was for the city and have them support me. So, to answer your question, I think I did an okay job, but I would just say that I was always planning to be proactive and running and having my voice heard from the community, and also hearing the voices of the people that ultimately I would have been representing. So.
If elected, how do you envision a typical week? And now you have a relatively new business,
Sure.
a young family, establishing roots into here. You're very active in many different
Sure.
committees. Balancing it all.
Sure. Well, if I were appointed, then I would no longer be on the Plan Commission or the CDA, so my time would be freed up there. But to speak to my wife's store, we actually just hired our first person, which means that I very happily get to take a step back, and I don't need to be there as much as I am. But yeah, I have 2 little kids who, they take up a lot of my time, but we're pretty strict and regimented with our bedtime, so we usually have 2 or so hours at the end of the night after they've gone to bed to have some quiet time where I could sit down and, do some hard studying and reading about the issues that are coming council's way. My job is really fortunate. I work remotely 4 days a week, so I just get to hang out at my house or at Katie's store where I've set up an office to work. I only go up to Madison 1 day a week, and that's on Tuesdays. Depending on the future of my office, which is it's a federally funded office, so that could be changing soon. I don't foresee any change to my ability to work remote and be in the community, which I think is a real asset to my current employment. I think that's one of the great things that I love about my job, is that I get to be here in my community working. Even supporting AmeriCorps members that we have here in Milton. We have 3 that serve in the schools here in Milton, so I get to actually be close to them on the ground for while supporting them through my own job. So, but yeah, so I mean it's a tough ask. It's a lot of time to manage, but I think it's doable. I'm a big proponent of time blocking and auditing my time and making sure that my schedule is clear when I have important things coming.
What is one thing the city is not doing well, and what will you do about it?
Sure. One of the things that I would do would actually change the committee meeting times. I think I love being on CDA and I love being on Plan Commission, but I am lucky that my job allows me the flexibility to be there at 1 p.m. on a Monday or 4 p.m. on a Tuesday. And if we want more people to be involved in government and then have voices in their community, we need to have those meetings at times where working people can be there. Because I realize that I am very fortunate in my job that I get to attend those meetings, and I do not take them lightly. But if we want more voices in our community to be heard, then we need to make sure those meetings are at times where people can be there. Another thing that I would do, to kind of echo Michelle's point, I think that the information that we give as a city is great. I think we do a great job at that. But I will say that one of the things that I studied in my life, my graduate capstone project was actually, I was a team of about 10 other researchers where we assessed the level of transparency in local government websites and their ability to communicate things to the public. And I will say Milton's doing great. But through that process, we learned what the best practices and things like that were. So I'm a big proponent of data and working with data and making that stuff accessible to the city. In my day job, I use Tableau a lot, which is data visualization software, and I take complex government data and try to make it as accessible as possible for everyday people, because that's ultimately who we need to be serving, and the information that we need to keep pointing out to them needs to be put out in a way that they can understand it and easily consume it. So if I were appointed to the council and the city wanted to buy me a Tableau license, I would do that. But outside of that, I think I touched on this a little bit with Charlotte's question. If I were appointed to the open seat, I wouldn't be routinely holding town halls where people could come and talk to me, because I don't want to be in the ivory tower. I want to be representing the people of Milton because this is a position of trust. It is a position that inherently comes with dignity and responsibility. And I think the biggest thing that you can do as a representative of your community is to make yourself as available as possible to them. I will give you a shout out, Derek. I saw your post on the Milton Community Group. Shout out, Michelle. I think that thing's awesome. It's really helped our business, but it's also helped bring a lot of people together. But being proactive with saying what you're doing on council, I think, is a great way to show the community that you're involved. So.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank all of you for giving presentations and taking time tonight to speak with us and answer our questions. The policy does allow for discussion if we want to discuss qualifications, although the next step after this will be at our next council meeting where we'll have a public hearing where the public can speak and ask questions, and then there's a vote. But for now, there's no action. But if we want to discuss qualifications, it's open.
I think everybody did that pretty good on their own.
All right, thank you. So we'll move on then to agenda item 11, discussion and possible action regarding 2025-2026 commission and election official appointments. Want me to run or you gonna run with it? Okay, go.
I can run with it. Poppy Ramos has indicated that she is interested in the youth membership on the Community Development Authority, which is a high school representative within the school district of Milton. The information is within the ordinance. The appointment is advisory only to the Community Development Authority. Mayor Stockman has reviewed the appointment and is recommending the council approve that this evening.
I recommend appointing Poppy Ramos as the high school representative for the Community Development Authority.
Second.
There is a motion in 2 seconds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. General items, committee reports. who met.
CDA met, but we discussed that, everything we discussed earlier that we voted on for Stacy's.
And Plan Commission met, but we discussed all of that when the Plan Commission met earlier.
Thank you for that. Well, Parks.
Yeah, Parks met last night. We discussed, or we had a speaker who talked about the football fields and some naming ideas. We tabled that. Otherwise, talked about some dugout updates, an easement to be recorded. But otherwise, we're moving forward.
We will move on to staff reports then. Mark, kick us off.
Excuse me, the Northwest Street Improvements Project, the concrete work is mostly completed. They were gonna start milling this week, but with the weather, they're gonna hold off until after the holiday weekend, so the pavement's still in place. But that project is on schedule to be completed early in June. The well rehab project is still progressing. That'll be, well 5 should be going back online here in a couple weeks, and they'll move over to well 4. And we just received bids today, so you'll see information regarding that for the TID 7 project.
Thank you, Kelsey.
I have been working with our bank on setting up Positive Pay on our checking account. Positive Pay is a fraud prevention service used to combat check fraud. So it works by matching the details on checks that we cut with the payments that come through the bank. So it'll help to identify and prevent fraudulent checks from being cashed and ensure only legitimate transactions are processed through our accounts.
Thank you. Paul?
Yesterday, we held our comprehensive plan kickoff meeting with leadership team and our mayor. That went quite well. It's going to be an exciting process, and everyone here will have some say in that process, and you will be involved. Second, Mark and I also recently met with another developer who's looking at another residential tract of land here in the community. So.
Thank you. Kenny?
Over the last couple of weeks, our staff has been working on processing alcohol and tobacco renewal licenses. So this is for bartenders' licenses, also known as operators' licenses, and also the local establishments within the city. So that due date is May 23rd to ensure that it is all of them are processed by the June 30th deadline, which is the expiration. And I know we've talked a little bit about this tonight, but there's lots of committees, commission, board, and election appointments that are available. So we do have questionnaires on the city's website if you're interested. Otherwise, we have also paper copies in the office, or just come see one of our staff and we'll guide you through the process.
Thank you. Ashley?
We had 14 applications for our summer teen internship position. I will be conducting interviews this week, and I'm very excited to welcome someone else to our team and work with a teen this summer. The Friends of Milton Public Library awarded 4 $500 scholarships to graduating seniors last week. These teens have contributed so much to the library, from creating and providing programs, voicing their opinions, and sharing the love of reading with younger community members. These scholarships are made possible thanks to Friends memberships, yearly memberships, our quarterly book sales, and other donations to the Friends. So become a friend, shop our book sale to support some future seniors. And then our summer brochure is out, and we're excited to offer over 70 programs through June, July, and August for all ages. So come spend the summer with us this summer.
All right, thank you. And Chief?
We are still hiring for a part-time summer school crossing guard. We've received 1 application, and I'm very optimistic that applicant will check out, get that person squared up in the next 2.5 weeks before summer school kicks off. As you may have seen on Facebook, Officer Nicholas Moore graduated from the Black Hawk Tech Law Enforcement Academy. He came yesterday for orientation and started field training with Officer Zebel on second shift. So he'll be bouncing shifts for the next 4 months until he gets acclimated to becoming a vampire and working third shift. Officer Ryan Schneider is currently attending field training school, so he will be a field trainer for any future officers, Nick being one of his first. So with his transition from the schools, as going back to patrol, we needed to fill some vacancies and bolster up our training staff. So Ryan jumped to that challenge. our Click It or Ticket campaign started yesterday. It's not a very lofty, expensive ticket, but it does help prevent a lot of injuries if you're in an accident. So do buckle up if you don't have that natural tendency to throw that thing over your shoulder when you get in your car. And in light of recent developments, I will be meeting with the Public Works Director to determine what color lights we'll be putting on our future trees for next year. Nothing further. Thank you.
I'll be in those meetings too.
Thank you. Okay, so team building exercise. This includes you folks also. If you could only watch one TV program for the rest of your life, not a movie, TV program, what would it be? Go.
House Hunters International. So many episodes.
You got House Hunters MASH?
MASH.
The Office.
Mine would be Band of Brothers.
I got you back, buddy.
I'm going with This Old House.
Okay,
I didn't
that's my
see
second
that.
choice.
I didn't
I'm
see
with you,
that at
buddy.
all.
I'm
I didn't
second.
see that. No. Yeah. I was thinking he'd say cops. I don't know why. But
Gilmore Girls.
I'm just gonna stare at you until you answered.
so typical.
Gonna say the newsroom. The newsroom. Oh, sorry. The newsroom. News radio, excuse me, news radio.
So Mayor Stuckman did provide some of us this question before, and I had an answer. But then when someone said Suits, I forgot about Suits and the unfortunately newly canceled Suits LA. Oh, sorry. Yes. My previous answer was actually Psych, the show. Yeah, I fall asleep to that every night. So yeah.
So I'm a Blacklist fan. Raymond Reddington, the man. But our attorney, did you throw one out yet?
LA Law.
Yeah. Yeah.
That'd be the last kind of show. Monday Night Football.
Saturday Night Live.
That's a really good one. Okay.
Nobody said UFC?
Thank you all for playing along. Next meeting date, June 3rd, 2025. Looking for a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We stand adjourned. Thanks, everybody.